And here's a detailed look at all the changes, including for the office holders that were announced today.
Today's press conference.
Among the promotions, to ministerial level, Mr. S. Iswaran in the Prime Minister's office and Second Minister for both Home Affairs and Trade and Industry. To Senior Minister of State, Mr. Heng Chi Hao, who will remain in the Prime Minister's office, while Mr. Teo Ser Luck will be promoted to Minister of State for Trade and Industry. Madam Halima Yaacob will become the Minister of State for Community Development, Youth and Sports, and fellow backbencher Ms. Josephine Teo to Minister of State for Finance and Transport. The Prime Minister also appointed several newly elected members of Parliament as office holders. Mr. Heng Swee Keat will be Education Minister, while Major General Chan Chun Sing will be Acting Minister for Community Development, Youth and Sports and Minister of State for Information, Communications and the Arts. 3 more newly elected MPs will become office holders. At the Minister of State level, Mr. Lawrence Wong will hold office in Defence and Education. Brigadier General Tan Juan Jin in National Development and Manpower. And Ms. Sim Ann will become Senior Parliamentary Secretary for Education and Law. Among those who were not promoted but have changes in portfolio, Senior Minister of State for Education and National Development, Grace Fu, will switch portfolios to the Communications and the Arts Ministry and the Environment and Water Resources Ministry. Minister of State Lee Yi-hsien will relinquish his manpower portfolio and take on the National Development one and retain the Trade and Industry portfolio. Dr. Amy Kaur will swap the Environment Ministry for Health Ministry. Minister of State Masago Zulkifli will swap Education for Foreign Affairs and retain his Home Affairs portfolio. As for the senior parliamentary secretaries, Mr. Hawazi Daipi will swap Health for Education but still remain Senior Parliamentary Secretary for Manpower. Dr. Mohammed Maliki Osman will add on Defence to his portfolio of National Development. And Mr. Sam Tan will take on Foreign Affairs and Community Development, Youth and Sports.
Well, several new office holders say that the government's announcement today shows that the government is serious about change.
The last time a newly elected MP was appointed minister was in 1984 when Dr. Richard Hu was appointed Trade and Industry Minister after winning the Kreta Ayer seat. Mr. Heng Swee Keat, the former Managing Director of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, is now Education Minister. He was the first Director of Higher Education between 1995 and 97 and hence is new to the ministry.
I think what would be very useful for someone like me who is new in this is to be able to hear the diverse viewpoints and to forge agreements on what we need to do. I think one of the things we need to do is to forge partnerships across different groups in order to achieve the desired outcome.
Mr. Heng says this is to ensure citizens are prepared to meet the challenges of globalization, to build character and values in youths, and a caring and gracious society. Brigadier General Tan Juan Jin and Mr. Lawrence Wong have been appointed as Ministers of State. They say even with a new team, the government will be mindful of fundamentals, and with new challenges, new responses are needed to tackle problems.
So for me, it's really to level myself up as quickly as I can, to understand the issues at hand, and I think to as fast as possible to be able to contribute and in a meaningful way in the whole policy-making process, as well as I think the delivery of the policy to the population at large, and to make sure that the policies are implemented in the correct spirit.
It's not just about knowing what are the right ways to design a policy. I think increasingly it's also about being able to explain, to engage and to convince people that these are the policies that we have and to sell the policies better.